All right. Live on American Zombie today, rather not last night. I yeah, decided to chill and absorb some well-needed rest before I did this stream, because this stream I was going to title it something with the Wizard of Oz or something like that. Because it does have to do with the Wizard of Oz. And of course, we see Bill Nye, the so-called the unscience guy or whatever. You know, we see that just like we used to get the gold star in school, if anybody has ever gotten the gold star, I'm may have gotten one or two. I can't even really remember getting any now that I think about it. Thank goodness. I thank goodness that I really didn't care too much about schooling. I'm still trying to heal from some of the stuff that, you know, was done in elementary school and others. But I noticed that, thank goodness, I didn't come out a certified idiot, you know, because that is basically the diploma. I don't know what it's like to have a diploma, a high school diploma, but I do know what it's like to have an honorable discharge from the United States military. So even though somebody might be critical of my academic background, that's okay, because it says more about the critic, right? But the title of Graduating Obedience School, right? Graduating Obedience School. When I looked at the way that they were given Bill Nye this Presidential Medal of Freedom, man. And he believes, man, he couldn't be happier. He couldn't be happier working for just straight, I don't even know what to say. It's at a time where he would probably even say, make excuses for censorship, of course, because then you wouldn't be able to criticize the stuff they try to put forth as science that isn't science. Why? Because we in the straight psychiatric ward, planet Earth, like the previous stream. This is straight psychiatric ward where everybody got some, you know, we see that now it's just went into the Oval Office space in the psych ward, just went into full blown bait. You know, you got everybody angry, ready to explode, and then what do? Throw up nutcase with fuel and a flamethrower. But when we look into the Presidential Medal of Freedom, so this Medal of Freedom, this so-called Medal of Freedom, basically the gold star for the man-child, right? So we have that, but also it looks very close to the Wizard of Oz Scarecrow degree. So it's like he's giving him the star, like here you go, good boy, you know, just the way the wizard on the right is handing the Scarecrow a degree. Now everybody knows the Scarecrow was already smart. He didn't need the wizard to give him that, but being raised in a way to where to believe that, he went on the journey through the Yellow Brick Road, M City, all the way into Oz, to really, they didn't find the wizard. It was Toto, which in Latin means everything, everyone, all, in total. Toto pulled back the veil that revealed the wizard, and he was like, oh, you know what, look, let me hit you off with this the wizard gives him spelled words on a page. So remember that too. So he's handing him spelled words, and you know, we know about words, you know, the spelled words, we definitely know about that. So instead of addressing all of the stuff they went through, he's like, look here, man, here. He's like, here's a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now, of course, Bill Nye has always been an extremely subservient member of the so-called brainwashing machine, is what I call it. Christ of her. Always a pleasure, brother, from across the pond, man. Good afternoon, man. Yeah, man. Brian, yeah, definitely. I didn't stream last night, man. I was so spent on streaming for like 40 days straight because I think I started streaming before Christmas every night. And I said, let me just try to stream every night. It's like exercise, mental exercise, physical exercise, seeing how far I can go. I mean, I could have probably went every day. I just been kind of like back and forth healing, cold weather. Thank goodness it's warmed up. It's 27 degrees now, so that's nice. At least it's getting a little warm. Yeah, man. Bill Nye is a loyal company man to the system. Totally, man. He's beyond the scarecrow. Like, and good to see you, Jailhouse Max. Yeah, man. Bill Nye is, and that's why when I saw this, I said, wow, they're giving him the golden star. The well done. Here you go, boy. Here you go. You've been pushing everybody for this agenda on evolution, and anybody that questions the state's narrative on what they say science is supposed to be will consider you as unscientific, and if you're like just a cowardly buffoon, he's got something for you too, man. He's got the courage medal, the courage, yeah, man. It definitely makes me wonder who gets a badge. The cowardly lion gets a badge, the scarecrow gets his little degree, gets his medal. The Tin Man, even though he showed compassion and caring, that's not good enough. That it's definitely not good enough to show the action of caring and compassion. No, they're training us to say, no, you need the wizard. You need the wizard to give you a spelled words on a page, and we know page summons the spell. The page, like a page to page somebody over a supermarket intercom at a department store, page him, to call him. So the page calls the spelled words. That's amazing when you think about it, because it's so in the open. It's like, it makes me wonder how easy it is just to be able to see through some of the spells, that it's like, wait a minute. They're telling me, okay, he's saying, look, you don't think you're that smart, man? Well, here's some spelled words on a page to make you think you're smart, just the way we give a guy, a 70-something-year-old guy, a medal. I mean, and the zombie standing behind him. I mean, Biden is just looking straight ghoulish. I'm nothing against the person personally. I mean, this is brutal, man. This is brutal. And if you're a feeling, caring person, that's not good enough. The Wizard of Oz, I think it was trying to show people that, look, it's many ways to look at this, many ways to say, why would you need somebody to tell you? I mean, the cowardly lion did show courage at one point, but, yeah, it's kind of, a lot of yes men. Yeah. A lot of yes men out there. I mean, on a level where, man, the Oz, the whole thing with that, it just, it has me seeing how anybody who is in an authoritative position of academia, so basically someone who's going to say whether you pass or fail, is in a position where, one, they censor you, and two, they teach something that isn't following the scientific method. The third point is they're slowly changing these definitions. I wouldn't even say slowly anymore. Now they're kind of changing them quickly, because when I look at the definition for evolution now, there's many different evolutions. I think 6 or 7. One of the definitions is changing over time. Now, or just of course, they're constantly, really, the only thing that's changing over time is the definition of the word evolution, and how everything, oh, this evolves, that evolves. How? When they say one thing changes into another, or a different type within the species, that's adaptation. And if you say no, it's evolution, you get the medal. If you say, you know, yes, it is adaptation, then now the stuff starts. Now it starts to where this campaign of non-scientific thought comes down on on whoever it is that is bringing forth the knowledge. But back to Wizard of Oz, conspiracy theories, and that's the thing. People will say, oh, conspiracy theory. Well, there are theories, there's possibilities, and then there's conspiracies, real life conspiracies that many of us can look at. But the zombies, the pressure of people are it's really tough, because it's hard to think when everybody is using a type of mental power, which it's hard to name it. I haven't named it, but it's like a peer pressure type of thing, where you're almost afraid to think. Like, you have to think and worry about what somebody else's response is in an egotistical way. So, not saying that what you said was right or wrong to go forward. Say, hey, if we're going to go forward in the search for human origins, we have to be honest about what we find. Like, what do we find? So what we find is a mystery, but people keep saying that we evolved. Other people say that it's strictly a religious doctrine. And again, the people in the middle are far and few that will say, let me look at this with the scientific lens. And the peer pressure, man, the job peer pressure. Oh yeah. The whole, that is so brutal, man. When I looked at the magic potion, and now there's a lot of doctors speaking out about it, but that pressure was so, I still feel it today with the people that did that and the people that didn't. That separated people. I thought it was bad when George Bush was separating people. I felt that he was separating people back in 2000. You're either with us or against us, stuff like that, before the Iraq invasion, basically, on the stuff that they said, and then it ended up not being there. It just, the fact that nobody cares, nobody looked into the buildings, nobody, just the apathetic thought, that it kind of reminds me of it kind of reminds me of when Thanos snapped his fingers and people started like fading away into dust. That's the way thoughts fades away into the atmosphere. When somebody's trying to think of something that can make things better, it's as if the government snaps their fingers and it just, oh, look, the Super Bowl's coming up, and boom. And it is coming up. That's the crazy thing. That if you got a strong mind and you're not into stuff like that, and this is nothing against people who was into football. I know a lot of people that, this is a serious moment, and the sports zombie thing is big. I might actually do the next few shows about it. I've been thinking about it, because people are so concerned about this important, extremely important event, where guys are going to be trying to throw a ball across a field and get it, kick a ball, throw it, and other guys will be chasing this oval shaped ball. And it's literally the most important event of the year, still early part. But to think of that, to just look at the overall intelligence, if you were going to say, okay, let me look at the intelligence. And this is something, if you're going to take the accomplishments and great stuff, yeah, but also take everything in a whole. When we look at, like, if some other type of intelligence, even ourselves, just as different groups of humans, is saying, okay, if we were to transmit a message to somebody at, say, on another planet or in another uh, dimension, maybe. So now we got a little communication device, and we're saying, look, man, planet Earth is like a psychiatric hospital, man. Different portions, this and that, right? Now, other people, what they would write back to these aliens or something, this experiment of what I'm not saying aliens exist that you can write to. I'm saying this experiment of saying, what would I tell somebody that wasn't from Earth, about how psychiatric ward type of stuff it is. It expresses how much in a way that I know about what's going on. So it's kind of like a good test to let us know where we're at. If these so-called aliens, or say something that wasn't from Earth, said, okay, look, I just want you to take a test and answer a few questions about, do you really believe the people in politics are making the decisions, the people in religious institutions, the Pope, and all of these others highly, like extremely high positions, royal figures from around the world? Why wouldn't there be something behind that? Did I get what? Oh, let me check. Hold on. Let me see. But yeah, when I think about it, let me just check. Hopefully he's there. Just hang on one second. Just let me play the zombie thing so I can figure this thing out.
The zombie spectrum contains 8 main categories, all of which are meant to control the mind of someone who is unaware. Today, we'll focus on the 7th category, which is politics. Only those who can see through the illusion will notice how politicians transform while speaking to other zombies. But most of the time, they'll be able to contain it and regain their composure without losing support from their zombies.
Yeah, I was just checking. No, I'll find. I didn't see a notification on anything. I just checked, but I'll check in about 30 seconds. Christopher says, my ex-wife would only let me see my daughter through the closed living room window. Oh my goodness, man. That is so, wow, my apologies, man. That's like, yeah, the jab separated people, man. It really, I look at that, man. It's still, what hurts is that not only did it separate people from back then, but we still see it. We still see it today. Like when I look at some people that, one guy was talking about a high school reunion, and he mentioned that recently I guess somebody had it in 2020, and he goes, people didn't want to get the thing to go there, and I was like, man, I said, if that was, I said, I didn't graduate. I said, but if it was that year, I said, I wouldn't go. I said, why would I said, you're telling me people should have to do that to go? And even the fact that people didn't or did, when we see each other now, it's kind of a weird feeling. It is. It's kind of a weird feeling, man, because I think one person had wrote, they said, who people are. So in a time there, and it's nothing against the person itself. This shows us that what they would call stupid people, which is more in a daze or stupor by definition, nothing. derogatory. It's more definitive, explanatory, to say, hey, wake up. It's like, this is, people deserve a choice. It's like how asleep are you? And that really, really makes you think, when somebody does not want to even know. That was the crazy thing. It's like, look, can you even just read this? And we ourselves, right? Like, say we go to eat something. There are some things we're not going, especially if you go out to eat, you're not going to get the ingredients. You're ordering something you don't know. You're going to get, who knows? Who knows? This is why I try to just get stuff from the supermarket and make it. And even then, most of the ingredients, but at least you got a little more control over it. And it is tough. It's tough because it's the zombie machine that just that pushes everything. But yeah, with the food, you see the chemicals. You can say, okay, look, this tomato, I think I'm going to get the tomato that says it doesn't have chemicals. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have chemicals, but they're saying it's organic. So, all right, I'm going to get that. And some people might say, well, you're trusting, it could be. Yeah, it could be, but at least I'm trying. I'm saying, okay, if this is working on any type of integrity, or any honesty whatsoever, all right, I'm going to get the one that's saying it has, it's organic. So I prefer that one. Why wouldn't I? Other people might actually go as far, when they graduate obedience school, as saying that, oh no, those effects that they're saying, that the certain sprays on, for the vegetable crops, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. Now, you can read the studies, and you can go through the studies. Now it comes into, again, the authoritative figure, to where if you let people think for you, this is where you find yourself at, where you can read the study saying, look, this is not good to grow your food with this stuff. Of course, you don't want to grow your food with this stuff. But the zombies, or people that are just trying to, just minions of the state, man. The gold stars, basically what we see, the Scarecrow, Wizard of Oz, and Scarecrow representing, in a way, the farmers from the Wizard of Oz, so representing the farmers from the Wizard of Oz. And it's like, he's smart, he can grow, but he's using the government's thing. Oh, here's a certificate saying that you're smart. Now, it's kind of like saying, it's showing how people don't trust in themselves. In a real thing, somebody would be like, imagine going up to a friend and giving him, like, seriously, like, you go to like a craftsman shop or a jeweler, and you make a medal. You say, look, man, I want to make a medal for someone, a medal for being smart. They might look at that as disrespectful, which it could be looked at that way. It's like, hey, you know what? Thank you for not being an idiot, or just above stupid, or just you're smart, something like that. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be something. But if you got a guy that's ready to pin a gold star, like some stuff you just get in elementary school, telling you, well done, well done. Just, hey, you followed the yellow brick road to pass Emerald City, to come basically find the wizard by accident, because he didn't come out. Toto was the one that had to pull the curtain. And then he's like, here's a paper, here's a page. Let me summon the spelled words, with this page. I'll call. And again, it's like everybody. The lion, the Tin Man, here's your heart. Even though we know you got compassion and caring, But until we tell you you have that, until we tell you, that's when you have that. You know, the Emerald City could some people say for government, some others say for the money, because I think you had to put on like these paper glasses, if I remember correctly, to get into Emerald City. Like, where does the yellow brick road lead to? It leads to Emerald City. And the Scarecrow, of course, American Farmer, Tin Man, the industrial worker. So basically, building of the country, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Cowardly Lion, you know, and that's somebody that they say they tried to make fun of, like it was a Democratic candidate who supported free silver, and they, you know, when you think of if it did have the political thing to it, it just shows just um, how movies can be used to sway opinion. And then the wizard is supposed to be the president or the deceptive political establishment, which, I mean, politics in itself, the meaning itself, one of the meanings, and that's where it always gets tricky, because once you get into something that can mean different things, now, you know, now the language gets confusing. But if it's similar, it's still okay because it's kind of synonymous, where the synonyms. But yeah, the political establishment, we already know the deal with that. Yeah, this is Psych Ward, man. This is Psych Ward. Psych Ward. We don't know who built the country, but people waking up just straight liquid. It's funny because the Matrix, when he woke up, the liquid on the face, when I think about it, I mean, just that, you know, I mean, this scene is so iconic. And then being able to see everybody else, to be like, holy smokes, man, people are in the pod. That deep fields of people, you know, again, some wondering about the gated communities of the afterlife, others just fueled by their emotions. You know, you got to control your emotions. Either you control your emotions or they control you. You know, a culture of immaturity that it takes a person to try to at least see through the illusion, at least see through the illusion in some sort of way, But yeah, waking up to it, man, and seeing that they keep people in a state of childlike mentality. The gold star for the child from school. This is very, very, very reminiscent of that. This is the straight up. This is the mental condition. It's from the gold star of an elementary school to a guy being 70 years old, being given a medal to another guy that's in his 80s. Man, I think about that like, wow, like this is GP says, this reminds me of the 13 Ghosts movie where you need special glasses to see the back. Yeah, it definitely, yep. Yeah, man, this is straight Psych Ward. Yeah, definitely Psych Ward when I think about it. It's yeah, we are on some type of Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz tried to say something. They definitely try to say something. The wizard, they also say that if you look at the end, the reptilian type of face, that green face, is holographic. And we know that we've been in the age of holograms. You know, you're looking at 30, 40 years. I remember they had a video game in the late 80s that was holographic. But Dorothy, and they did have a mention to the Wizard of Oz in The Matrix. They had when he said just hold on, Dorothy, kind of threw that in there. So we have that, and Dorothy's entire journey is a dream. So somebody, some people can look at it, the hallucination theory of being knocked unconscious, or maybe just hallucinating through it. And it shows, if anybody's seen the original, how the characters they mirror people from her Kansas life, from the farmhands, the wizard, fortune teller. Glenda, as the villain, is another conspiracy, manipulated the events. The religious allegory, you got that. You got darker interpretations where it goes into like capitalism and stuff like that. Yeah, they get kind of deep, but I think on the basic, when you look at it, the yellow brick road, itself, gold makes sense. I mean, it could be for something else. It's definitely a possibility. It's definitely a possibility that it could be something else. But that whole getting the gold star, man, getting the courage, saying, hey, you know what? Here's a medal. Here's a medal. That's basically, it's very close to that. Here's a diploma, and it's just giving people their medal to stay subservient. A trinket, graduating obedience school. They get a trinket. When you graduate obedience school, you basically, what have you really learned about life itself? And especially in many different aspects. It basically, going along with the program, staying within the parameters. And it's a tough one too. It's like cattle going into the slaughter. Whether they go into either left or right rail, they're still going to end up in the same line for the slaughterhouse. It's a tough one, man. Yeah, it's straight participation trophies. Exactly. And, I thought about this earlier today. It's like, why is there rappers meeting with presidents and baseball stars and basketball stars? Baseball stars was that with Kennedy and DiMaggio and all of that stuff. You start to think about that. It's like you start to see through it, like Elvis with the army and stuff like that. It's like, oh, really? So Elvis is going in the army. Really. And that was a spectacle. Anybody can look up Elvis and the Jab. I had some pictures. I don't know where they're at, but yeah, Elvis and the Jab. I was surprised. And this was before AI. I remember finding this. But Elvis and the Jab. Matter of fact, I can look it up. Because Elvis, that's a crazy name. Promote. Let me see if he promoted the. Yep, I think they did. Holy smokes. He pushed the V. Holy smokes. They used Elvis to push the magic potion. This is crazy. This is crazy, man. This is like trying to see what year. National Endowment for the Humanities, if anybody cares to check it. Scientific American also had something with that. Wow, 1956. Holy smoke. So 1956, Elvis Presley. Wow. And people might get angry about just pointing that out. That's the zombie level. To say, well, what are you trying to say? I'm saying, well, and this is, see, we see this. We see that just saying, hey, wait a second. Isn't, they clearly using this. Why would you use a celebrity of that status? You're trying to get people to get the vax. Why? And if they're saying, oh, well, it's to help people, it's like, well, then why don't you give them other free medical stuff that they need? So we easily can see when somebody's telling a lie. In that instance, though, a person might forget. And that's where this machine, I don't know if it's the electronics that come out, they said that can affect the mentality, inducing apathy and stuff like that. Dr. Jose Delgado experiments, which, that stuff, there has to be current stuff. But I noticed that they're very careful at what they release. They're very careful. Black Circle, my brother, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, man. Yeah, so with Elvis in 1956 is pushing. He received, openly, monkey see, monkey do, his magic potion, before going on the Ed Sullivan Show. Just the talk show. It's like, how much more blatant can you get? How much more blatant can you get? But again, we're going for, like GP is saying, participation trophies. This is straight 100% pure participation. Journey, Wizard of Oz, Gold Star for the man child. This is what it is. The participation trophies, that's a good one. I definitely like the way you put that. That's definitely a good one. Yeah, this is definitely participation trophies. I mean, when I look at the whole Elvis thing, you start to say, well, wait a second, why would you do that? Oh, somebody was pushing you to do that. And to think, now this has nothing to do with a physical writing on paper IQ test, but it has something to do with thinking, okay, like the power of deduction. That's a power. It's a serious power that people don't want others to know that we have. The controllers, like they talked about in the movie Brave New World, which could be equated to the politicians or something, or whatever is really what's behind the politicians. The controllers, there is that invisible hand that pushes forward with like an invisible technology where we wait, okay, what are they going to come out with next? And who is they? Who's on the cutting edge? Because people are on so many different cutting edges of different types of stuff in society, sewage filtration, water collection, fertilizer, soil regeneration, building materials, and then schooling, subjects within schooling, the thought projects, computers are just on another level. The radio towers, I mean, we are building an electronic fortress around ourselves, and most people don't realize what its potential can be. The potential of an electronic fortress where, okay, you can be kept in too. And that is, it's cool to an extent, but I don't see what's stopping. I mean, we saw what happened with the passports a while ago. People were literally trying to get a certain type of thing, and it just is hilarious. It is those people. That is the thing. When you think of those people and say, wow, those people actually, they I've heard some people say that people who don't want to get the magic potion should have to get the magic potion. And this is where, the challenge of intelligence comes in, where you say there's good people that feel that way. And I understand this. There's good people. So for some people, they'll just go and they'll try to verbally debate with the person on why their opinion is wrong, and why the other person, like why they shouldn't get the magic potion. But instead of that, it's just more or less like, look, this person's at a point in their mentality that I don't know what it would take to wake them up, but it doesn't seem that the talking to them in that direction is having any forward movement there. You have to be smarter, actually. You have to be smarter and say, okay, how do I do this? How is it even worth doing? Is it? And that's a big thing too, because some people, it's like Mark Twain said, no amount of evidence will convince an idiot. It can't. It won't. There's no way. A person has already made up their mind. They don't listen to learn and then respond. They just wait. They wait to talk. Zombies eating up the thoughts. Yeah, they force the potion. They force the potion. And I remember, I don't know if he's got the channel still, but Mike and Pops, they were pretty cool. And he used to talk. He was the one that I think made up the potion. But he's right. He's right. He's like, yeah, people, they're like, look, you should get the magic potion. And that's where Sapolo and Bonhoeffer's laws of stupidity show us, the stupidity meaning unawareness, a stupor, in a daze, a phase type of thought, like kind of stunned. Stunned is kind of another word for stupor. But that's what they basically, they somehow it keeps people in that state, in that stupor type of state. And the majority of people are in that state, and they will do stuff without knowing they're doing it most of the time that is detrimental. So in other words, this is like an analogy of it, like somebody who is in a camp, like say a military camp, and they don't mean to, they're armed with, they have their rifle and their grenades, and the grenade, they didn't hook it properly. And it dropped in a way that pulled the pin and exploded. So somebody that would, and this is a hypothetical question or statement, you look at that and you say, okay, I can understand there are people like that accidentally, there's incidents where that has happened. And it shows us that the unawareness, I remember they always used to tell us, you pay attention to detail. You must pay attention to detail, because every little detail matters. This is very important. But the force of, or some type of ignorance combined with the unawareness has a more dangerous threat than intentional evil. Intentional evil is not going to try to destroy itself with you. Usually, we do see some crazy stuff, but Vision, what's up, man? Good to see you. Always, bro. Yeah, anybody that tries to force the potion, I mean, I'm looking at it as it comes to a point that when you look at the level of tech, I'm not sure people realize where we're at. Yeah, I'm really not sure if people realize where we're at in the level of tech. The level of tech right now is pretty high. I mean, we're at a point where everything is Wi-Fi. Everything. People, imagine if people couldn't access their phones for 2 days. 2 days isn't a lot, but if we didn't have no access, like say we said, okay, today we're making sure whatever has to be paid, and so we don't have to use anything, computer, whatever. Could we not be online for 2 days? And that's a tough one. And I feel like, in a way, one of the like I don't know if anybody have seen that movie by Bruce Willis, the Surrogates, where people would lay down, and then it would be like not a mannequin, but like an android. Yeah, like a real person that you can't distinguish from the regular person. So an android that realistic walking throughout society, and you're controlling it from laying in a chair. The Surrogates, I think that was the name of it. So more of a real life Matrix thing. And it was, in some parts of it, hey, everybody's got a piece of the puzzle. Everybody's got a piece of the puzzle. So maybe surrogates, like when I looked at that, I said, yeah, people behind the computer looking down, scrolling at the phone. You're looking at like hours. Like if you're looking at a phone scrolling for, say, 2 hours, and that's not a lot of time, but that's a lot of time when you think about it. Yeah, you start to be like, man, this is serious stuff. Like, what am I, unless it's work, if it's work, all right, yeah, cool, but that is like with kids. If you look at kids that are on the phone, and people, it's just like, holy smokes, that they call it brain rot. So I guess brain rot metals, brain rot metals. I think that's what I could say Bill Nye got from Biden. He got the brain rot medal. It's like, look, man, there's the Medal of Freedom coming straight out the psych ward. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just man, I look through it. It's like every time waking up to something like this type of awakening, it's refreshing at a point, because it shows me that it shows forward movement throughout existence, to say, wow, what I thought was to be reality is more than what I thought it was. More than what I thought it was. I can see further through the zombie spectrum. I can see where words and stuff like that, words are very, very, very important. They cast spells, basically, in a way. I mean, some people might look at it and say, oh, that's crazy, but it's like, hey, it is what it is. As crazy as it may sound, but I wonder, what about these rituals? The Medal of Freedom, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, very close to the Wizard of Oz scarecrow degree. This is straight out of the psych ward. You know, just letting you know. Just letting you know. Pod. Awakening from the pod. Awakening from the pod. Yeah. Oh, when I look at it, it's like, wow. Wizard of Oz. So many aspects in life. Here's your trophy. Here's your heart. We know you got a heart. You're a hardworking guy. Tin Man. You know, the oil, they said represented the beer, the lubricant to lubricate, you know, the tears basically from being worked to death. Being worked to death just like the scarecrow. Scarecrow, you know, just Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion. And then Dorothy and Toto. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, just want to stop in for lunch. I might stream tonight. I'm going to see if I can. Yeah, 12:30 almost. All right, we'll talk tonight. Take care, guys.